I'm at my blog. It's I wonder if this.blogspot.com, and what I'm going to talk about right now is the argument for God. If you're an atheist, humor me here. That's why I wrote that. Or if you're just agnostic and not sure, whatever the case may be. Okay, so here we go. The thing about life is, everything in existence is a logical thought. A rock, a sentence, even the idea of nothingness is a thought. That's how things come to exist at all. If we didn't have thoughts, then there would be nothing to validate, create, or experience existence. If you step out from a curb and almost get hit by a bus, everything down to the particle in that situation is comprised of thoughts. Like for instance the bus, I didn't write this, but for instance the bus, your entire body, down to your hair, the pavement, everything is a thought. And I didn't write this either, but it's kind of like just energy. Whenever they say, oh, we're made of energy particles, you ask, what's a particle? They don't know, it just means a little piece of energy. So you have to ask yourself, if existence can't logically be explained, because technically we're theoretically impossible to exist, as something cannot create itself, and something cannot come from nothing. So like if there's nothingness, then something can't just pop out of it for no logical, reason. And yet, even though we are impossible to exist, we do. But is it not completely possible that these thoughts were created by a creator? And then you might say, well then, who or what created the creator? To which I respond with 3 points. 1. Nothingness is just a thought, which people perceive as once you die you're in nothingness, or before you're in nothingness. But our best explanation of that idea could be the emptiness of space, like the blackness of space. But even the emptiness of space is believed to be the quantum vacuum, which is just a quantum physics theory. Can't be proved, yet, but it's just a theory that scientists believe. An energy field which may have created particles. Nothing ever leaves existence either. When we die, our energy just moves on to different forms. And 2, our idea of creation, birth, and death is all we know of. We can't have thoughts which are the mash of perceptions of our world. So if there's another realm with completely different properties, we couldn't fathom it. Now this is probably the best point, because everything in our minds doesn't just come out of nowhere. It's from what we perceive in the world. Like everything we think, everything we know comes from a perception of the world. Now, let's pretend like I didn't write this either, but let's pretend there's a red ball. And you don't believe in red balls, you don't know what they are, but there's one right behind your head and you can't see it. That's kind of like the same thing. You can't see it, so you can never perceive it. You can never grasp it unless you actually see it and have a logical understanding of it, how it exists. So I think that's probably the best point. And 3, our idea of creation is based on a timeline of events like creation, life process, death, when time itself may not even exist. And I'll explain that in the following. If you ask yourself, what is time? Time is a ticking of a coil under gravity, a clock. It's like a winded piece of metal that, clicks in kind of like a gear mechanism, which measures the rotation of the planets, like your days, months, years. That's just the sun going around counting the sun. But if all the planets were to stop moving, how would we measure time? Person aging? Person aging is just a matter of particle motion, cell function, motion, and deterioration. So basically, I'll explain this. Those energy particles I was talking about, they spin around, and they interact with each other. Protons, neutrons, electrons, you probably know this. And beyond that, what are they called? Quarks? Theoretically, I think quarks are still theoretical, but I'm not sure. But they're energy particles that are in motion, and what that motion creates, the interaction between them, creates solidity, the properties of everything in existence. So everything in existence is a product of motion. Nothing ever really dies, it just moves into different forms. Like the particles in your body already existed before you did. They were in other animals, plants, and water. So basically, before you existed, everything it took to make you exist was already here. And its motion, created the consummation between, your mother and whatnot, and then your development as a fetus controlled by DNA, but it's all just motion, result of the motion, and your development into human, and then eventually your deterioration and death is all just motion of particles and motion, which causes motion of cells and whatnot. I think the particles in motion create an illusion of time. It's particles in motion that create moving planets, a clock. It's the same that creates aging, moreover life, death, throughout existence. And these are the only things we can measure it by. It's just motion of particles. So I think it's perfectly possible for a God to be in existence at all points of time, yet outside of it. And to be present before time, because all time would be, is an illusion of motion of the ideas and thoughts that kind of comprise, what energy particles are and what they snowball into our existence. The best way to put it is, when a flower grows from a seed to a shoot, and then grows and unfurls towards the sun, what really changed? In quotations, time? Or was it just the motion of the plant creating the illusion of time and development? One more thought I'm going to leave you with is something I saw in a documentary called I Am by Tom Shadyac. The heartbeat gives off an electromagnetic field that is sensed by other people's brains around us, so they can tell whether we're loving, angry, whatever emotion, based on our heart rate. Sounds crazy, but it makes sense, because my dog knows when I'm angry before I even say anything. And this isn't a quantum physics theory, which may be disproven. It's based on scientific research, testing, and evidence. So that's everything. Again, my blog is iwonderifthis.blogspot.com. Thank you. One more thing I forgot was, if our heart creates an electromagnetic field, electricity and energy never dies, and this field reflects our emotions and our inner what's going on, then where does it go after we die?